Somewhere in the world right now, there is a person with less money than you, less time than you, more problems than you, and yet that person is happier than you are. It's not luck. It's not an easy life. It's a few small habits done every day that most people never notice. By the end of this video, you will know all 9 of them. Simple, real habits, not empty advice like stay positive. These are habits used by men who lost their children, lost their power, lost everything they loved, and still found peace. Stay until the end, because the last habit is the one almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most important one of all. Welcome back to Wisdom of the Stoics, the place where old philosophy meets real, modern life. If you are new here, this channel has one goal: to take the wisdom of men like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus and turn it into something you can use today. Not theory, not classroom talk, real tools for a better life. If that sounds like what you need, subscribe now, because this video can change how you feel for the rest of the week. Let's start with a hard truth. You have probably chased happiness in the wrong way for most of your life. Not because you are foolish, because everyone around you does the same thing. The next job, the next relationship, the next thing you buy, you think it will finally make you feel like you've made it. But maybe you've noticed something strange. Every time you arrive, the finish line moves again. You get the raise, and in 2 months it feels normal, so you chase the next one. You start the relationship, and slowly the excitement turns into routine. This is not your fault. Scientists call it hedonic adaptation. Humans always return to the same level of happiness, no matter what happens to them, good or bad. Win the lottery, and after a year, your happiness goes back to where it was before. Lose the use of your legs, and, strangely, the same thing happens. You slowly return to your normal happiness too. The Stoics understood this over 2,000 years before scientists gave it a name. They watched rich senators, powerful generals, and famous poets chase money and status only to end up sad. Meanwhile, they saw slaves and prisoners find a kind of peace that money could never buy. From watching this again and again, they learned something simple but powerful. Happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something you build, day by day, through your habits, not your situation. Picture 2 people, same city, same salary, same number of problems this week. One of them wakes up and reaches straight for the phone. All day, they react to whatever grabs their attention. They argue in their head with everything that goes wrong. At night, they fall asleep scrolling, still thinking about the bad parts of the day. The other person wakes up with a few quiet minutes just for themselves. They meet the same problems with a different question. They spend their energy only on things they can actually control. And at night, they close the day with a short, honest look back before sleeping. Same city, same salary, same hard things happening, but a completely different life on the inside. That gap between these 2 people is not talent, it's not luck. It's habit repeated every day until it becomes who they are. This video will walk you through 9 of these habits. Small, simple, almost boring, but backed by old Stoic wisdom and modern science too. These are not habits for monks with no responsibilities. These are habits used by emperors at war, by philosophers who lost everything, by normal people just like you, people with bills, deadlines, traffic, and difficult family members. Habit 1. Own your morning. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most powerful men who ever lived. Emperor of Rome, leader of armies, a man whose choices shaped the lives of millions. And yet, most mornings, before the weight of the empire came down on him, he did something very simple. He sat down, often before sunrise, often tired, and wrote to himself. We still have these private notes today. We call them meditations. even though he never planned for anyone else to read them. In one of his most famous lines, he tells himself something like this: "At dawn, when it's hard to get out of bed, remind yourself, I am getting up to do the work of a human being. Why should I be upset about going out to do what I was made for?" Think about that. The most powerful man in the world had to talk himself into getting out of bed. He felt the same resistance you feel on a Monday morning. The difference was not superhuman motivation. The difference was a habit, a quiet moment before the chaos, where he decided who he wanted to be that day. Happy people do not just wake up and let the day happen to them. They claim the first few minutes for themselves before the phone, before the messages, before anyone else's demands come in. It doesn't need to be a whole hour of meditation and journaling. That's the version social media sells you, and it's tiring just to watch. For most people, it's 5 or 10 minutes. A cup of coffee in silence, a short walk before checking any notifications, a few lines written down about what really matters today. Here's why this works, and it's not magic, it's simple and practical. The first thing you do each morning sets your mood for hours after. If the first thing you do is open your phone and take in 15 people's opinions, a few fake emergencies, and constant comparison, you have already given control of your emotions to strangers before you even stood up. You become reactive before you get the chance to be in charge. Epictetus, a man who spent years as a slave before becoming a great philosopher, said it simply: "Some things are in our control, and some are not. Your day arrives whether you like it or not. But how you meet it, that first feeling inside you that belongs to you. Claim it before the world takes it from you." Try this tomorrow. Before you touch your phone, give yourself 60 seconds, just 60 seconds to ask one question. Who do I want to be today, no matter what happens? You don't need the perfect answer. You just need to ask before the noise begins. Think about the last time you woke up and grabbed your phone right away. Maybe it was this morning. Within 30 seconds, you were already taking in someone's bad news, someone's vacation photos, or someone's argument online. By the time your feet touched the floor, your mood had already been shaped by people you've never even met. That's not a small thing. That's the difference between being the writer of your day or just a reader of everyone else's. I know some of you feel you don't have time for a morning routine. I understand mornings are chaos for working people, especially parents. But this isn't about finding a whole hour. It's about protecting 60 seconds before the noise gets in. That's not a time problem. That's something you can train. Now, the second habit is where most people quietly fail, even when they already know better. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this, drop a comment with the number 1. It takes 2 seconds and helps me know you're following along. Habit 2. Stop fighting what already happened. There's a story about Epictetus that explains this habit better than any lesson could. As a young slave, his leg was broken. Some say it was on purpose by his master. Others say it was an accident. Either way, tradition tells us that Epictetus reacted with calm, not rage. He even warned that continuing the force would break the bone, and when it did, he simply said, "I told you so." No panic, no breakdown. He accepted what had already happened, because being angry at a broken bone does not fix it. This story might sound cold at first, but think about it for a second, because there is something deep hidden inside it. Most human pain is not caused by the event itself. It is caused by fighting against something that already happened and cannot be changed. Someone cuts you off in traffic. That event lasts 2 seconds. But some people carry the anger from it for the next 30 minutes, replaying it over and over, letting it ruin their whole morning. It wasn't the traffic that ruined their day, it was their argument with reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this often, almost like he needed the reminder every day, because he did. He said that whatever blocks your path becomes the path. Rain ruins your plans? Fine, the rain is now part of the plan. Someone you trusted betrays you? Fine, that betrayal is now something you must work with. Not because he liked what happened, but because arguing with something that already happened is a fight you can never win. And fighting a battle you can't win is where misery lives. Happy people are not people who avoid all bad things. That's a myth, and believing it will make you feel cheated every time something bad happens, because it always does. Happy people are simply people who ask a different first question when things go wrong. Not, why is this happening to me? A question with no real answer, a question that just makes you spiral. Instead, they ask, since this happened, what's the most useful thing I can do right now? That one shift from why me to what now is one of the most powerful tools in Stoic thinking, and it costs nothing to try. Think of someone who lost a job and spent months complaining about how unfair it was. That complaining doesn't bring the job back, it just makes the pain last longer. Now think of someone who lost a job and within a week was already updating their resume and reaching out to old contacts, treating it like a new start instead of the end. Same event. Very different outcomes. The difference wasn't luck, it was which question they asked first. Here's something to try this week. The next time something upsets you, you lose something, someone lets you down, a plan falls apart, let yourself feel it fully for 1 minute. Just one. Stoicism was never about hiding your feelings. That's a common mistake people make about it. It's about not being controlled by them. So feel it fully for 60 seconds and then ask, what now? You will be surprised how much energy that question gives back to you. Energy you would have wasted arguing with something that already happened and was never going to change, no matter how upset you were. Habit 3. Focus only on what's yours to control. Picture Marcus Aurelius at his desk, deep in his writing, when he draws a line that changed how I understand my own worry. He separates things that are up to us from things that are not. Our thoughts, our effort, our choices, our own actions, these are ours. Our body, our reputation, what others think of us, the results of things we've already tried our best on, these are not ours, no matter how much we worry about them. Here's something almost nobody tells you about unhappiness. A huge part of it comes from spending your limited energy on things that were never yours to control. Think about your normal day. How much of your mental energy goes toward things you can't actually change? What a stranger online thinks of you, whether a coworker likes you, what might happen in the economy next year. All real worries, but almost completely outside your control right now. Happy people are not people who don't care about these things. They are people who have honestly figured out where the line is, and they've stopped losing energy over what's on the other side. They still work hard. They still love deeply. They still show up for their duties, but they've learned to let go of the outcome the moment their effort ends. There's a name for this in Stoic thinking, the dichotomy of control. It sounds complex, but it shows up in something as simple as a work presentation. You can control how well you prepare. You cannot control whether your boss likes it, whether the client says yes, or whether a coworker takes the credit. Put everything into the part that's yours. Let go the second it leaves your hands. Try this test this week. Every time you catch yourself spiraling, replaying a conversation, worrying about an outcome, thinking too much about someone's opinion, ask one simple question. Is this actually up to me? Right now, in this moment. If the answer is no, you're not being asked to stop caring. You're being asked to stop suffering over something your suffering cannot change. Take that same energy and put it towards something that is actually up to you. Doing that every day is one of the quietest but most powerful sources of peace a person can build. I want to be honest here, because I don't think this gets said enough. This is genuinely hard to practice, especially with the people we love. Telling a parent to let go of worrying about their adult child's choices can sound cold, even heartless, if you don't understand what the Stoics really meant. They weren't saying stop loving people. They were saying love people fully, show up for them fully, and then let go of what you cannot control about their choices, because holding on tighter doesn't protect the people we love. It just wears us out without changing their path even a little. Letting go isn't about caring less. It's about suffering less for the exact same amount of love. Quick pause. If this is speaking to you, hit that like button now. It really helps this video reach more people who need to hear it, and it costs you nothing. Habit 4. Review your day honestly. Now let's talk about something happy people do every morning and every night that most people skip, thinking it's a waste of time. Seneca, in his letters to a younger friend named Lucilius, described a nightly habit he learned from another philosopher, asking himself, once the lights were out and the house was quiet, a set of honest questions. What bad habit did I fix today? What mistake did I resist? In what way am I better? He described going over his whole day, everything he said and did, hiding nothing, sparing nothing. This is not the same as journaling just for the sake of it, or the vague self-help idea of reflecting. This is more like an honest checkup. Not to punish yourself, Seneca made it clear this should be done gently, like a friend checking on your behavior, not like an enemy looking for something to attack. The goal isn't guilt. The goal is awareness. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at honestly. Here's the psychological reason this habit connects so strongly to happiness. Most people carry a quiet feeling that their days are just slipping by, that time is passing but nothing is really being learned or built. That feeling, even when people can't name it, creates a low, constant worry underneath everything else. A nightly review interrupts that. It makes you notice, even on a normal Tuesday, some proof that you're growing, some small sign that today wasn't wasted, even if it felt completely unremarkable from the outside. It also does something else that almost nobody mentions. It lets you close the door on the day. Without a proper review, unfinished feelings from your day tend to follow you into bed, showing up uninvited at 11 at night while you're trying to sleep. With a review, you deal with them on purpose, on your own terms, for just 5 minutes, and then you're actually allowed to put them down. Here's how to start tonight, in under 5 minutes. Ask yourself 3 questions before you sleep. What went well today, and why? Where did I fall short of the person I want to be? And what will I do differently tomorrow? And one more, what's one small thing I'm genuinely thankful for from today? You don't need a fancy journal or a perfect system. A notes app works fine. What matters is honesty, not looks. There's a reason this habit gets skipped more than almost any other on this list, even by people who genuinely want to be happier. It asks you to look directly at the parts of your day you'd rather forget: the sharp comment you made to your partner, the deadline you let slip, the 40 minutes you spent scrolling instead of doing what you said mattered. Most people avoid this kind of honest reflection because it feels uncomfortable in the moment. But Seneca's point was that avoiding the discomfort of a 5-minute review doesn't make the discomfort go away. It just lets it build up quietly into something much heavier, a general feeling that you're not living the way you want to live, without ever knowing exactly why. Habit 5. Prepare for hard times before they come. This next habit is what separates people who merely survive hard times from people who actually grow through them. There's a Stoic practice with a Latin name that sounds complicated, but is actually very simple. Premeditatio malorum, thinking ahead about misfortunes. Seneca suggested that before any journey, any new plan, or anything important, you spend a few minutes imagining what could go wrong. Not to make yourself anxious, but to mentally practice the hard moment, so if it really happens, your mind has already faced it once, at least in imagination. At first, this sounds like the opposite of positive thinking, the kind of thing you're told to practice on social media, and, in a way, it is the opposite. But here's what's interesting. Modern science has found something similar on its own. It's now called defensive pessimism, or in sports and business, mental contrasting. And studies on this show that people who briefly imagine obstacles before chasing a goal often perform better and feel less anxious than people who only imagine success. So why would imagining bad outcomes actually make someone happier, not more nervous? Because most anxiety isn't caused by difficulty itself. It's caused by difficulty arriving as a surprise, catching us off guard, because we never believed it could happen to us. When traffic appears and you're already 15 minutes from being late, someone who never once thought, "What if I hit traffic?" feels total panic. But someone who spent 30 seconds that morning thinking, "Traffic might happen, and if it does, I'll call ahead," feels only mild annoyance, because part of their mind already lived through that moment and decided how to handle it. Marcus Aurelius did this every day, almost like putting on armor. He reminded himself each morning that today he might meet people who are ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, or jealous, ordinary human behavior. Not to expect the worst from everyone, but so that if it happened, he wouldn't be shocked into anger by something that is, honestly, a normal part of dealing with other people. This is not pessimism. This is preparation, and it creates a completely different feeling than being someone who expects everything to go smoothly and then gets blindsided by ordinary trouble. Try this before something that makes you nervous this week. A hard conversation, a presentation, a first date, a doctor's visit. Spend 90 seconds asking, what's the worst realistic version of this? And if it happened, what would I actually do? Not the extreme, unlikely version, the worst realistic one. You'll walk in calmer, because part of you has already been there. I think about this every time someone describes a hard conversation they've been dreading for weeks, telling a friend they were hurt, asking for a raise, ending a relationship. The dread almost always feels worse than the actual moment. And the people who handle these moments the calmest are rarely the ones who got lucky with an easy result. They're the ones who let themselves imagine the hard version beforehand, the awkward silence, the disappointment, the possible no, and decided in advance how they'd respond if it happened. By the time the real moment came, it wasn't new. It was familiar ground. We are halfway through. This next one is the habit I promised you at the start, the one almost nobody talks about. Habit 6. Choose discomfort on purpose. Seneca, a man who later in life became very wealthy, did something that seems strange at first. From time to time, he would choose to live like a poor man. He'd wear rough clothes, eat the cheapest, simplest food, and sleep on a hard, plain bed, all while having total luxury just steps away. He said he did this so that if fortune ever took his wealth away, he would already know from experience that he could survive it without falling apart. He wanted to test, on his own terms, whether poverty was really as scary as he feared, and he found, again and again, that it wasn't nearly as bad as the fear of it. This is the old root of something you might already know from modern life, without knowing where it came from. Cold showers, fasting, hard workouts, sleeping without a pillow, taking the stairs instead of the elevator on purpose. Voluntary discomfort. Here's why happy people build this into their life on purpose, instead of avoiding all discomfort the way most of us are trained to. Too much comfort quietly makes people fragile. If your body and mind have never once practiced real hunger, real cold, or real effort, then the first time actual hardship shows up, illness, loss, hard times, it hits a mind that has never practiced staying calm through discomfort. But if you choose discomfort on your own terms, at a time and level you pick, you build something like a mental and physical strength, not numbness, but resilience. There's also a quieter gift hidden in this habit. When you go without something on purpose, skip a meal, take a cold shower, sit without your phone for an hour, you often rediscover how much you already have. Seneca wasn't torturing himself. He was resetting his sense of what enough really means. Because comfort quietly raises what you expect, until yesterday's luxury becomes today's bare minimum, and you feel like you're missing something in the middle of plenty. Here's a version you can try this week, and it's not as extreme as it sounds. Pick one small comfort, the extra 10 minutes of scrolling in bed, the elevator instead of the stairs, sugar in your coffee, and remove it on purpose, just for one day, not forever. Just to prove to yourself that you can. Notice what happens when that small comfort comes back. It often feels like a gift again, instead of something you'd stopped noticing. There's a reason people who have truly struggled real hunger, real financial hardship, real loss, often show a kind of gratitude and calm that people who have never struggled sometimes lack. It's not that suffering is good. Nobody should look for real hardship. But it's worth noticing that people who have never once been uncomfortable on purpose often fall apart at the first unexpected difficulty, simply because it's the first time they've ever met it. Choosing discomfort is a way to build that same strength without waiting for tragedy to teach you the hard way. If you're still watching, thank you, genuinely. Most people don't make it this far into a video like this, and the fact that you have tells me this content actually matters to you. If it's helping, subscribing costs nothing, and it tells me to keep making more of exactly this. Habit 7. Choose what feeds your mind.